What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Yin Fang podcast. I'm Dr. Whit Farr, and today Heather and I are joined by two people who bring a powerful and refreshing voice to the world of health and performance. Sam and Marci Ditzell, the founders of Austin Fitness Clinic. Sam and Marci are a husband and wife team. They've spent years helping athletes of all ages move better, heal smarter, and think differently about how to stay well for the long haul. Their clinic works at the intersection of rehab, performance, real-life wellness, and they're not afraid to challenge conventional thinking. In this conversation, we dig into some big topics like why kids are getting injured more than ever, how women are being pushed towards unsustainable training routines, and how most of us are missing the mark when it comes to true longevity. We also get into what it's like to run a small business as a couple, how they navigate the work-life balance, and why sometimes the best recovery protocols is just getting outside and going to bed on time. This episode is filled with honest insights, a few good laughs, and some much needed clarity in a world overloaded with health advice. So let's get into it.
All right, welcome back to the Yin Fang podcast. We're super excited to be here with Marci and Sam Ditzell of Austin Fitness Clinic, a fitness training and longevity center here in Austin. And also, Marci is the founder of Interrupted Apparel, which we're super excited about. I'm actually wearing the pants today, super comfy. So we're just going to get into everything with you guys about how you kind of got into the fitness world and learn more about the clinic and see where it goes. So
cool. Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're so excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start out. I want to just kind of get an idea of where fitness and health and wellness kind of started for each of you. So was this something from your childhood? Did you get into it in college? What were your examples growing up and in your, before you got into the clinic that kind of led you to this place?
You want to go first?
Sure. I was always into sports and very athletic as a kid, and I had a congenital spinal defect. I had spondylosis when I was 13, 14. So I had a disc slip out. I had a bad spinal fracture, body cast at 14, and then a pretty major surgery to finish that up. So started my freshman year of high school in a body cast, couldn't wear the school uniform, had to ride the elevator. It was just awful.
Yeah.
As if freshman year is not hard enough, right?
Right.
So my surgeon said, dude, if you don't exercise every day the rest of your life, you're going to be in pain. I was like, okay, but I couldn't really do crazy high load, stupid exercise even at that age because I had that defect. And I don't want to get hurt again. So that sort of set me off down the path of learning to train my own body appropriately through proper exercise and physical therapy. I had no idea I was going to make a career out of that, and then got into UT and started wanting to study that and had to drop out of the business school and shift to the exercise physiology side because I had to make a choice. And I didn't really know if I was going to be successful at it. I just was interested in it. So I figured I'd make it work. And that led into training and then physical therapy and then longevity and wellness. And it was kind of just tick, tick, tick after that.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I feel like when you have some kind of an injury like that, I feel like often the recommendation is don't move anymore.
Stop doing it. Yeah.
That was
Stop
a pretty
training.
progressive doctor
How
for the
fortunate
time.
that they were
That was in 92, which is way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't even really adolescent physical therapy at the time. Physical therapy was more blue collar occupational therapy in the 90s. We didn't have nearly the sports therapy techniques that we do now, or even the early 2000s. So
yeah.
And coming from the surgeon, you said the surgeon is the one that recommended that too, right? So that's definitely.
But these were like any orthopedist you see today, any of my clients that run practices, they have physical therapy in-house. Mm-hmm. One, because it's a great billing code they can add, and two, because they know how important it is to promote a better outcome for their patient. But back in the 90s, it wasn't a thing. You just didn't get referred to a physical therapist. You kind of just had to figure it out on your own.
Side note, Sam and I met actually the first time the day before his surgery. And he was supposed to call me that night and never called. And then we ran into each other 3 months later, and he was like, it was the night before my surgery. I was having surgery the next day. I was like, no.
I picked her up with a back brace on. I was like, so.
Wait, y'all met as kids?
We did.
15,
we met at 15.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, and have known each other since, straight through. But anyway.
Did you go to the same school?
We didn't. We actually met at church.
Love that.
Of all places, yeah.
Yeah, he went to a small private high school, and I went to a huge 5A high school in San Antonio. But yes, it's a running joke that, and the excuse for not calling me was surgery.
Back surgery.
That's so funny.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and then so my path was very different. I was an athlete in high school and got into college and thought I wanted to teach PE. And so I have a split degree in early childhood development and fitness and nutrition, I think, at Texas State. But and I got out, and of course, teaching PE is a small percentage of actual teacher positions. So I actually taught kinder and first grade, and then decided I didn't really like teaching or children that much. So went into tech for a few years, and then came back to fitness. But yeah, that's
What sport did you play?
I actually danced, really. So I played volleyball, I played some tennis, ran some track, but I danced from age 3 to 18, like high kick team in high school. For a split second, I thought I wanted to go like Rangerettes at Kilgore and then Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, but I did not. So, yeah.
Cool. So,
Which has destroyed my knees. So now I rehab knees and hips because dance is so brutal on the body. But yeah.
Okay, so, and remind me, are you PTs? Are you trainers?
We probably do, I'd say, the exercise physiology, like from training to exercise physiology. And that just means training would be general fitness, coaching relationship with clients, all the way to exercise physiology would be kind of like periodized annual training for like competitive or borderline pro athlete clients. So kind of that range. So we probably live in that spectrum. And then we interpret
like blood work, and I mean, we can't order it. We're not doctors, but we interpret it and look at that kind of stuff with people.
And anything we can't figure out, we've got physical therapists on site in the clinic. We can go to them. If we have something that's kind of weird that we think needles might help with, we've got some dry needlers and some acupuncturists. So there's a lot of experts there that do the stuff that we don't know anything about to try to collectively get a better outcome for whoever the client or the patient is.
Yeah. Okay. So for everyone that doesn't know, we've been to the center, the wellness center. It's super cool. Okay. So you guys have the gym there. I know you have Pilates there. Like you said, PT. Yeah. What are all the wellness modalities that are housed?
Acupuncture,
yoga,
and then yoga,
manual therapy, kind of massage therapy. Yeah.
Massage therapists. I think that's everybody.
I think that covers everybody. Yeah. And then a part of that scope, we do obviously the nutrition counseling and everything else. We have an affiliation with a lot of concierge and functional medicine practitioners in Austin. So even though we'd love to have that on site, we just don't have any room. But we can help refer people out to get the medical prescription diagnosis side. And then we kind of quarterback the intervention treatment side.
Yeah.
That's so practicing in dentistry and in medicine, right? Everyone's so subspecialized. Like you're naming all these subspecialists, and it's a real challenge for the clients or the patients, right? To go to one parking lot and then go to another place and then go to another place and go to another place. And then the communication lapses that happen from one to the next. And really it's this all interconnected web. So like I'm really fascinated that you guys took the initiative to bring everyone in, because I don't think that happens in the vast majority of healthcare businesses.
Right.
Like how did you have it? Do you have a blueprint for that? Did you just do it out of necessity, or what?
It was kind of out of necessity because I mean, early on, we were down on Fifth Street and in a much smaller. The gym was bigger, but we didn't have near the other space for people. And so, but what we realized was, yes, people, these clients we've known now for 20 plus years, but even in the beginning, we had worked with for years, so trusted us. So wanted to know, who do I see for massage? Who do I see for acupuncture? So we had to go out and figure out who would we refer people to, and then we were like, why don't we just bring those people here so that we can all work as a team? And, it makes a client feel amazing when you say to them, okay, I don't know how to fix this, but let's literally walk down the hall and we'll go see the PT and talk to him. And then we'll integrate it into your training. And you feel very cared for. You feel like someone really has your back. And so we wind up quarterbacking a lot of that for our clients. And so, it's just kind of over the past 20 years become that we've had space to bring all these people in. And someday we would love to be in a space where we could have actual MDs in an office somewhere too, and bring that in-house as well, so that we just kind of have this one huge wellness center. But it kind of organically happened as people kept asking us who to see.
Yeah, and like my dental cases, that's what they refer to my specialist as, the quarterback of the case, right? But then you got to make sure the orthodontist talks to the periodontist that talks to the surgeon. And then there's this lab office somewhere making teeth somewhere. And I just think that's pretty incredible. But from a business standpoint, that's like why a lot of it doesn't happen, because each person wants to like, it's just like, has that been a challenge as business owners to now you have to manage all these?
Yeah, I think that's where it usually breaks down. Any gym scenario that I'd seen in my history, just growing up working out in different gyms or going to different physical therapy clinics, the specialists all, even if they were on site, they all had their own area, and they were very protective of their expertise and their patient base and their clientele. They were threatened that someone else would have more expertise and, I don't know, steal that patient or generate revenue from that client. It's like, well, these clients don't care how much money they're paying. They just want the best outcome. Why don't we get them whatever they need? And if you're not the best fit for that client, you just get the next client who's probably a better fit for you. And then that, I mean, as long as we had a non-scarcist mentality, it worked great. So we really had to bring in
we've been through a lot of
personality.
Yeah, I mean,
it took a lot of trial and error.
20 years in that we finally, knock on wood, have a really awesome group that really works well together. But we've had plenty of people, that haven't really fit because they do have a scarcist mentality, and that just doesn't work in a cohesive group like that.
Because you'd see the dry needling specialists would be like, well, no one needs to do massage therapy. They should just get needled. It's way faster. I'm like, okay, well, what if they just dry needling is not very relaxing. What if they actually relax and get massage? Or the Pilates people wouldn't talk to the trainers or coaches, right? They were at each other. The yoga people wouldn't talk to the Pilates people because they all think that, well, all you need is my practice.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to bring in people that were like, oh no, my practice is only just part of a holistic approach to this person's wellness. And if they like Pilates more than training, well, then just go do Pilates. I'll just get a different client.
Do you think that that's changed over time? Because from my perspective, I feel more people being willing to understand that it's better to do a lot of different things. Like you can do Pilates and yoga and strength train or some of these, like massage and acupuncture. Like it's each of them has its place. Whereas, each of these things kind of came up as like, this is the healing modality that you need, and it's the only one that you need. Do you feel like you felt that change just overall?
Definitely.
Yeah. I think so. And I think actually this whole kind of, longevity has become this really broad term that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But I think part of the really important conversation surrounding longevity is that you need to cross train, right?
Yeah.
So whatever that means.
You got to do a bunch of different stuff. You can't just specialize. You're not going to make it.
Like you need to lift heavy weights, but you also need to do something meditative, and you need to make sure that your tissue is healthy. And so, I think that's really kind of, what's the word I want? Push that forward so that people aren't just doing Pilates or just doing yoga. So I think that's been huge in the last, 2 to 3 years.
What we saw over and over in the industry as we age from our young dumb 20s, where we coached everybody the same, right? And we coached everybody like a 20-year-old college dude because that's what we were trained on. So as we age, well, our client base aged too, and so we went from 20 to 40. Well, our clients went from like 40 to 60 to like 60 to 80. But anybody who specialized, if they only did yoga or only did Pilates or only strength trained or only did martial arts, they just specialized, they were all hurt. And it didn't matter what specialty they followed. Everybody was injured because nobody cross-trained.
Yeah.
Because the power lifters didn't have any mobility, and the Pilates people were too flexible, had no stability, no strength. And so for whatever reason, whatever they lacked led to their injury. And we all realized in the industry that, we've got to cross-train and do every modality to be more well-rounded.
I feel like I've observed retired professional athletes like coming out and being like, well, my kids, they're doing all the sports. They're like, they're not,
absolutely.
like I was watching, I think Colt McCoy was talking about this the other day, saying like, my kids are not just playing football. I want them to play all the sports.
Right.
So and that's their body the memo we're in, right? Like this is the big conversation right now in kinesiology and exercise physiology is these kids that are playing club sport.
It's
starting it. I mean, we have a kid down the street from us that we've known since he was 9, and he's now 16, and he's a baseball player. He plays varsity. He's great, but he's played since he was like 6, and he's played a little something here or there, but he plays baseball year round.
Yes.
And luckily we know him, and he's at our house a lot. We're like, okay, you've got to do some of these exercises to like, to cross-train your shoulder, because he was a pitcher. But we're seeing, kids that are having massive tears in ACLs and labral tears, and all the way up to like 20-year-olds and having hip replacements because they've overtrained, and it's scary.
Okay. Same pattern, like they do the exact same movement pattern, same fascial pattern, same muscle strengthening, especially in rotational sports. They always swing the same way at bat or at golf or pitch with the same arm. And so they develop these imbalances in their body to get worse and worse and worse until they break. So it's almost a contest of what gives out first. Does their physiology break down, or does their mental psychosocial piece break down where they're just so burned out on doing the same thing that they give up, they quit?
And we have more and more kids younger coming in to see us and our PT, and and granted, we're not parents, so it's kind of a hard conversation to have with parents, but I get, right? Like these parents are like, no, I want my kid playing it year round because everybody else's kid plays volleyball year round.
Get behind,
and so I get that side of it, but then at the same time, it's like, well, but the chances are probably most of these kids are not going to play Division I college volleyball. So don't we want to keep her safe so that she doesn't wind up injured, so that she doesn't get burned out? So yeah, I don't really know what the answer is. I just think that's a hard thing to navigate right now with the abundance of year-round sport.
This episode is brought to you by Yin Fang toothpaste. Yin Fang toothpaste is 4 ingredients: coconut oil, baking soda, cacao butter, and nanohydroxyapatite. It's non-toxic. There's no preservatives. It has a low abrasivity, which preserves your teeth. It's supportive of the oral and gut microbiome, and it's remineralizing. Stop.
Living in Austin as parents, like
I mean, you guys are
we're
parents,
actively
right?
going through that because we have 3 little athletic kids.
Yes.
And what I'm observing is, and also living in Austin, as you all know, there's a lot of retired professional athletes live here, right? So our kids are playing with their kids, and I've had more of the retired pro athletes tell me. I had a guy that was a MLB pitcher telling me, like, he has 3 boys too. He said, we're not even getting like competitive until age 15. He's like, I don't even care.
I just want them to play.
I just want them to have fun.
Have fun and play.
And his concept was, in his experience with all these MLB guys, if they weren't like loving the game in high school, they never made it to the pros. And the ones that were not loving the game in high school were the ones that played year round. But
it's more complicated.
Who's really good, and then another dad's like,
foster that.
Yeah, your kid's good. Like, he should get on this other team where he'll play some real, talent on the other team.
And you watch it, like you see them play the rec league, and the coaches are dads. A lot of them have 0 to little experience, and so the kids are out there just kind of like, and our experience has been like, our kids want to be coached, and they get frustrated when they're not getting better, and we can see a lot of times it's because of the coaching. So then it's like, okay, well, if you want better coaching, then we have to make this other commitment, know? So it's like, and they are, for us, like we've been really careful, as we're not, we've tried to be careful, but they play 2 sports at a time typically. And, but it's I'm like, if y'all don't want to go, like, we'll take the day off. We're not like, you must be there all the time. But it does it's like an interesting thing because there is a pressure, and like, it'll be things where what happens is the kids that start when they're say 7, by the time your kid wants to play, if they're 10 and they haven't been playing, well, then it's a real mental challenge for them because all these other kids have skills, especially something like baseball, where it's not like just hand-eye coordination. I mean, those are things you have to build up over time. It's just such a slow sport. So it's like we waited, as an example, like for lacrosse, and our oldest, like his friends had been playing 3 years, and he just sobbed for the first like 2 weeks of practice because he wasn't used to being the best out there and didn't know how to hold the lacrosse stick even, and by the end of the year, it was like, he was one of the best kids on the team. But I was like, I don't know if we're going to make it, and then it kind of makes you be like, oh, like, it's just, it's mental for them too, I guess is the point, because then if everyone's been playing for 12 years and they wait till they're 16, then it's like, well, I don't, they've all been playing. So it's just a really interesting,
but pulling it back into the injury prevention of, like, I think is the big takeaway for me of listening
Right.
to y'all talk.
Yes.
We see kids getting injured,
Sure.
which
That's
is
the
like
trade-off.
that's odd, right?
Yeah.
We're
Kids were
bendable,
never
Like,
hurt.
seriously.
flexible,
Never
like
these levels.
But like when we were growing up, and to your point, Heather, like I think it's great that they play sports young and learn how to play them. They just need to play like 3 to 4 different sports
Right.
a year and
Yes.
not play any of those sports year round.
Yes, totally.
So like when we were growing up, and even in high school, I remember all the football players played baseball in the spring.
Mhm.
You know, and vice versa. They didn't play baseball all year, and they didn't play football all year,
Yeah,
and
there
so
weren't
they
as many select teams.
They spent all
Exactly.
summer.
Now everyone has
right.
a select
All
team.
summer
there
was
a
you did
season,
nothing.
right?
Right.
Yeah, and all
Cool,
summer you
yeah.
did
You
nothing.
hang out, and your
so,
tissue gets to actually recover.
And you nailed it. So now you can play these sports year round
Yeah.
on these select teams and club teams, and then you play for the school, and that's what we're seeing is the problem. Is once they get old enough to really love 1 or 2 sports, they play it year round,
Yeah.
and that tends to be what is causing all these injuries.
When
Yeah,
your
we just
kid-
had a
yeah.
friend who it's like 9-year-old. They had to stop pitching for the entire year at 9
Yeah.
because he had tendonitis. I was
Mhm.
like, what?
Yeah, and a 9-year-old.
Right.
You
Yeah.
never saw that
Right.
in
Like,
my day. Never.
Yeah.
growing up, you just go throw the ball as hard as you could for
Yeah.
4 hours a
Yeah.
day all the time.
And we didn't have, there were no pitch limits when I was a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
There was no codification because everybody knew you had all summer or all spring completely off,
Yeah.
or you were doing
Or
a
you're doing a
completely
different sport. Yeah.
Yeah.
and so your body would recover.
Yeah.
So yeah, if your kid trains all year long and plays all year long, that kid's skill set will absolutely level up. And I hate to turn this into a podcast of parenting advice from non-parents, right?
That's fine.
But as your kid's skill level ramps up, the commensurate response to the risk of injury is right there. And once
Right.
they go over threshold and they're injured, then their skill levels plummet because they can't play and they can't train.
Yeah.
So from our perspective, if I was coaching a young kid, less is always more when it
Yeah.
comes to skill training
Yeah.
because the impact has to
Because
be
we've
low.
had a couple of clients that have kids that play either 1 or 2 sports year round, and so they've all of a sudden they're like, okay, coaches are sending out like what to do over the summer. There's all these different, kind of regulating bodies that have created programs for kids over the summer, and so they're bringing them to us, and look at this. Is this what they should do? And I mean, it's like 5 times
Dude,
more
it's
than
so
I would
much.
do.
It's so
It's
much
too
volume.
much, and so we're like, no, don't do any of that. Like
Yeah.
that's because it's still more sports specific activity, and it's like, no, they need to do other things.
Just like move their body.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 And to you, what you were saying earlier, like the MLB player that's like not till they're 15, because if someone's gonna go play in the MLB, that kid just has a natural talent.
They'll be in the
right?
MLB
And they're
whether
gonna-
they play in middle school or not.
Yeah.
They're going to the MLB
Right.
if they want to because that
Yeah.
kid's got talent.
Yeah, and so the rest is just making sure it's fun, but that they're not getting injured.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah, being in Austin, we've been able to interact with a lot of the football guys that make the UT team, and I'm always amazed at how many of them, when I say like what separates you from other people, they never say I'm faster or bigger. They say I'm coachable, and it's like a mental like, so you're not going to be mentally sharp and coachable if you're not enjoying it,
right?
if you're not like, passionate about it.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times I tell my parents, like, look, guys, your kid will more likely get a spot because someone else is hurt, not because they're the best
True,
athlete.
Yeah.
sadly.
So if they get the starting
Yeah.
pitcher spot, the starting guard spot, they're going to get it because the better guy was injured because he did too much.
Right.
So
Oh
if
my
you
gosh.
train appropriately,
Isn't that crazy
you have a
though? I
lot
mean, it
more
actually
opportunity.
happens quite a bit now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, gosh, because we're in this world so much, and you hear, like, we'll hear a kid be like, my arm feels funky, and they're playing baseball. And I, because of my own personal experience, would be more likely to shrug that off. But now I guess talking to you guys and
You got to know your kid too. I mean, is your kid just bitching? Are they tired? Right. You know your kid, but if it continues, or you see their movement, their mechanics change, or you see their movement pattern change, you're like, maybe something may be going on here. Right. Like I had a little bit of back pain. I just played through it. And then a couple games I was like in tears after practice. And my mom was like, we're going to the doctor. I was like, I'm not going to the doctor. They'll take me off the team. I'll lose my spot. Like, it was just a small school. Sure enough, go to the doctor and x-ray and like, oh dude, your back's trash, man. You can't play anymore for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's a balance too.
Well, there's specific, like throwing sports is a big one, right? Like the shoulder and elbow in a throwing sport is a big deal. Young girls are way more likely to have ACL tears because of the Q angle of our knees. So like soccer players, basketball players, that are female have, I don't actually know the number, but it's
7X.
7X
Yeah.
more likely to have ACL tears because of the way our anatomy is. Yeah, exactly. So I think if parents can be at least aware of that, like if you've got a girl playing volleyball or basketball, if you've got a son or daughter pitching in like softball, baseball, like those are definitely the repetitive things we're seeing because it's too much on those bodies.
Okay, I want to switch topics. Go
for that was awesome.
Yeah, I love. I could talk about this.
We could actually just do children.
No. So, okay, I want to go in a different direction. Yeah. What is it like building a business together as a couple?
That's great.
Some days are easier than others.
Yes, I mean, we work together some as well. So
it was definitely a shift because I came on in 2012, 11, we bought the building we're currently in. And so that's when I came back on board and because it had gotten too much for Sam. And Sam and I work very differently. Sam's very OCD. He's very type A and I am not. And so originally I actually came on to just kind of take stuff off his plate and do more of the kind of behind the scenes administrative thing. And so our whole thing was like, just send it to me. Just send it to me in email. I'll handle it, that kind of thing. And so fast forward, I don't know, several months in, and Sam's like, okay, well, this isn't done. I'm like, well, I know, it's on my list. And I was like, if you need something done, then you need to tell me. Tell me that it's urgent, and I'll put that at the top of the list. And Sam was like, everything I send you is urgent. Like,
just consider it marked.
Yeah, that's not actually going to work for me.
It's all an emergency. As soon as it hits your inbox,
not a thing.
I consider it done.
So we had to work through some of that. And then we actually, by pure luck, had an intern about a year in. And she is extremely type A and OCD. And
military
she's actually
background,
now our building manager. So she and Sam kind of managed all that together. We joked that Yvette saved our marriage. But so they kind of handle all of that side of things. And I don't have to be involved in it. And it's much better. And so, yes, we have figured that out. But people assume, I think, that we're in an office together for 8 hours a day. But we're actually on the floor with our clients.
Yeah.
So we rarely interact during the day. And I think that's actually why it works. I think if we sat in an office together for 8 hours a day, someone would probably already be dead. Yeah. But because we're out doing other things, it works.
And it is challenging. You have to come home at the end of the day and be like, okay, let's take off trainer hat or coach hat and let's just have husband and wife hat on for a while and let's just be together.
That's why we're trying to take like a Friday off a month to not do work.
To just be married and not be business partners. Yeah.
Which I'm sure you guys get it, right? Like it boils over and you get home and, we usually work at home for a couple hours so that we're not interrupted at the studio. But then, that turns into like 5:36 and we're still working and we're still talking about work stuff. And so we've sort of implemented this hard stop at 5:30 that we're kind of done. And we move on to like sitting and talking about other things or going outside or playing with the dog so that we don't have this just kind of constant work life.
Yeah, we can totally, that's like very similar with, we started a private practice. He started a private practice and I was still practicing law. And at some point he took over a second practice where he still is now. And it was just like, it was too much. And we had our second baby. Yeah, it was too much. And so I was just, it was like too many jobs. And I was ready to kind of walk away from what I was doing for a little bit anyways. So I just came in to help. And then that help lasted for five years. Yeah. And but yeah, we had my distraction was the kid, like we had to come home and deal with the kids. So I was like, level. Yeah, but I think that was the way it like pulled us out of work because we weren't. You had to actually. Yeah, we weren't really like. I wouldn't say we had a boundary. It definitely like there was a lot of conversations like once we got in bed about work, which of course now I recognize like since we've moved on from that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably not the best. That was not the best way to do that.
It's super romantic to get in bed and talk about work.
Yeah. Yeah. But we have, I mean, I think it's not for everybody, but I feel it's fun too.
I mean, anyone that's like, everyone has the dream probably of owning a business, but not everyone really does that. And there's just a different mindset when the buck stops with you and, you get people that are depending on you to help provide paychecks and benefits and predictability of income. And
it's a tough pressure
until you wear that hat, like I can think back to my first 4 I mean, I got out of dental school and did 4 years as an associate and then 3 years of residency. So like for the first 7 years of my dental practice, I never had those responsibilities.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just kind of
And you have
like,
no concept.
and I had
Yeah.
lots of,
Yeah.
and I had lots
Yeah.
of critique of the people that did. So I look back on that and like,
better ways
man,
to
I
do
shouldn't
stuff,
have
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
man, I see what they were going through a little bit more.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think
Yeah.
like as we were raising kids, keep going back to kids, but like we're trying to put them in like an entrepreneur class
Yeah.
just to really flex that muscle of like,
Yeah.
you got to make decisions that are
Yeah.
hard. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And
behind
it
that.
is actually, you know, we never set out into this industry to manage people. Like,
Yeah, that wasn't the goal.
we actually, and it is actually sometimes the least favorite part of
Sure.
the job.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time, though, I love all the people we have, and I'm so glad they're there. But you know, you put 24 personalities in a building. There's always some kind of conflict or something that needs
Yeah.
to be handled.
I used to say I was going to work to babysit adults.
Right, like sometimes it actually
Too often.
does kind of
I
feel
was
like
I
that.
have
Too
my
often.
children, and then I go to the other children.
Yeah.
And like manage all these personalities.
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
you have to balance all of that with all, and you know, I mean, yes, owning your own business is exhausting. Now,
Yeah.
we would not do it any other way.
Dude, I
because-
wouldn't trade it. Like,
No, at
if
the
you
end of
want
the
to
day,
be in
it's
charge,
yours,
that's the trade-off. You want to be
Yeah.
in charge, you get the pressure.
But we've
That's what I go.
actually tried very hard. When we very first started, Sam was very much I want everything to look like it's under control and we've got it and everything's perfect all the time. And we kind of ran that way for many years. But I think it gave everyone a false idea of how easy it was to actually run
Mhm.
a business.
I had a small issue with vulnerability. I mean, just a little bit.
So we've kind of actually shifted and we're far more open now because everyone in our building is an independent contractor. So no one's an employee. They all actually run their own businesses. They just rent space from us.
Uh-huh.
But it's still kind of this collective group that we still kind of helm, you know, at the top. And so we try to be very open about like what things cost and what things, you know, when
Yeah.
we're stressed and like this is happening so that they have a better idea.
Mhm.
I mean, it's still not the same, right? If you haven't done it, but I think it was kind of fake feeling to act like running a business is like all golden and wonderful all the time.
Mhm.
Because if they ever want to do it on their own, I think it's our responsibility to kind of share with them that no, there's days you're up here like literally in tears because the water heater exploded at 11 p.m. and you get to deal with it because it's your
Yeah.
building
And they
and
don't
it's your
see any of
business,
that,
right? And
right?
they didn't really see any of that, so we've started sharing that kind of information with
Yeah.
them just to give them an idea.
Because there'll be some of that, like, you're cutting out early, and they're like, oh, well, it must be nice you're leaving early. I was like, bro, I was here at 4:30. Like,
Yeah.
You rolled in at 9,
So
and now it's
step up.
1. And I was here for 5 hours before that.
Yeah.
Or like in a meeting a couple years ago, we had to do a rent assessment, like an increase for all intents. And we were like, hey, look, guys, we're getting squeezed, right? And we held it together during the pandemic as long as we could. We didn't want to push anybody and raise costs for you. But now we got to do an adjustment because the building taxes this year are $70,000 just for the taxes. And everybody just jaw drops. Like they just
Right.
don't have any idea.
None.
Or, hey, we got to put in a new AC and it's $30,000, just cash like that,
Yeah.
which none of them have.
Right.
And we got to come up with. So it's like, that's the cost.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've started trying to be more open with our way of kind of
Yeah.
managing,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I think is going well. We hope.
So-
We'll see.
So-
Right.
Yeah, there's so
Love
many
it.
things
Yeah.
running a business that no one else sees.
Mhm.
What would you say is your business is essentially, or kind of, I guess, where you guys come from is based in like movement,
Mhm.
generally speaking. What would you say is kind of your, it can be individual, it could be as the clinic, but what is your wellness like philosophy? Like, how do you look at health?
Love it. Yes, go.
Yeah,
Go.
I would say, like, for me, it's just like in our kind of mission statement, just basically says provide a better outcome for the client,
Mm.
whatever that means. Like, if that means, like we talked about before, that client needs to work with somebody else because they're a better personality fit, or they need a
Mhm.
different modality, or they need a different level of coaching altogether, or we're not even the right clinic for them. Maybe they need to go somewhere else
Mhm.
even to start. That's the end goal. Like,
I
take
think that's
care
the
of the
culture
client.
of the studio.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Personally, I think wellness needs to be something. I think we are so bombarded now with fitness,
Mhm.
right, and health coming at us on social media and everywhere else that everyone feels like they're not doing enough.
Yeah.
And so, and I only work with women and women's health, and you know, women are also in this moment that that they are a lot of women are full-time moms and full-time business women, right? And, you know, from a oh my God, I can't say it. Statistical point, yes, women still do way more of the home stuff than men tend to do. So what I find is these women come in and they are just so overburdened with life and then they're like, but I also know I need to be doing 2 hours of working out a day. It's like, you don't need to be doing 2 hours of working out a day. Like, and so my philosophy kind of on wellness is that it needs to fit into your life and it needs to make you happy and not be one more thing you're checking off a list. Mm-hmm. Right? Because a friend and I have been trying to get to yoga class for like 2 years and we still have yet to actually go to one together. And we finally decided that trying to figure out when to go to a yoga class together has been so stressful because it's like one more thing to put on our calendar.
Making it worse.
Right. Yeah. That we need to let it go. We go have coffee and drinks all the time, but clearly we do not want to get to yoga class enough together that we're making it happen. So why are we being so stressed out about it? Right. So I feel like wellness and health truly means you're doing things you enjoy in a time period that you can set aside. And whether that's 10 minutes or 2 hours, it's got to be something that is not one more thing to check off your list.
Yeah. I love that. And I think it's so different. Like some people are like, I want to move my body for like hours a day. Like I fall into that category. But but like for some people that's overwhelming and like
not practical.
Right. Yeah, not sure. It can be not practical. And also some people are just like, the idea of running makes me want to hide in a corner, you know, or whatever.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, which this is a good segue because I want to ask, I feel like you were talking about Instagram. I think like there's been so many things that, trends that are because, you know, people are putting out the thing that has worked for them. Essentially, it's coming from a good place, but we're just like bombarded by all this information in the health and wellness space, which I think is also really wonderful because I love that that's become a thing and longevity has become a thing. But I think a result of that is that people get into these, like they hear one thing as an example, like you should never do HIIT again if you're female, or you should,
for a minute,
I don't know.
Shouldn't put bananas and blueberries and smoothies together.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so many things.
Yeah,
there's a zillion things in nutrition. There's lots of stuff in the movement space. What has like come up in your career? I mean, you have like years to draw from that you've had to kind of work through with clients. I know like as our trainer that we worked with for years, you know, he essentially teaches it's like a HIIT-based, plyo-based with weights type of general class. And for a long time, like post-pandemic, just all the women that used to always come see him were like, oh, I don't do that anymore. I can't. I'm not allowed to do HIIT. And it's like, well, okay. Anyways, when did that change? Like it used to work for you. So anyways, just is there something like that you've seen that you kind of were like, I wish this would go away, or something that works? What kind of have you
I mean, I think fitness is just, it's constant, right? Like
the fads move way quicker now, at least.
They
so
do.
If by the time you get angry about something, it's gone and you're on to the next thing.
Yeah.
It used to take 5 to 8 years at a time, and now it's like maybe 5 to 8 months at a time, I would say. Or weeks, maybe.
And I think that's just fitness and health. And you know, it's easy to say, oh yeah, you shouldn't do HIIT or you shouldn't walk for 2 hours or whatever the actual trend is. And I think part of the reason is we go through all those trends is we're forever studying it. And you know, we study something collectively, exercise physiologists, you know, kinesiologists, and get better at studying something, or there's more technology to study it. And then we realize, oh, well, okay, wait, maybe we weren't doing that correctly, right?
Yeah.
Or it swings back around and we're like, oh no, we were doing it correctly like 40 years ago. And so I think the short answer to all of that though is kind of what you said a minute ago, Heather, is it depends on the person, right? Like Sam is a nightmare if he's not worked out at least 2.5 hours a day. Nightmare. Can't live with him.
It's like a puppy.
Right. Yeah. Totally. Right. I mean, he actually self-medicates, we'll say, with exercise. Whereas I'm like, I feel like 10 minutes of yoga today. And that's all I need to do. Right. And I'm happy because no, I don't want to go run for an hour.
Yeah.
And so I think we try to do this one size fits all with both nutrition and fitness. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where we get hung up, right? Because everybody thinks they need to be doing HIIT, or everybody thinks they need to be eating bananas, And it's so personalized for your body chemistry, where you are in life, what's going on. And so I think that's why these trends get so, I don't know, people get so down on them, I think sometimes, and then they hit so fast and then you're on to the next one because this has saved someone's life. And like you said, that's awesome that we get to share that information, but I think you then have to take it into what your life is like.
But then the reason that those fads don't stick around is because they don't work.
True.
Like if they fixed everybody's problem, it'd be fine. I mean, but it doesn't, because people need to realize, like, okay, well, maybe there was something in that fad or in this one or in that one that I can glean from that to build my own program. But it's like a Rubik's Cube. I need a lot from a lot of different modalities. So which is why we brought so many different practitioners together, because they all have different opinions on what gets someone a better outcome. So then me as the quarterback coach, I could be like, well, maybe it's a little of that, a little of this, a little of this, and she's only got 17 minutes. So how do I as coach put all that together in a weekly cross-trained program for her so that it gets her a better outcome? That's the challenge. Well, so rather than be threatened by it.
Yeah, and it leads into, I mean, I'm sure we're headed towards longevity at some point, but this is not going to be a popular comment, but you know, longevity now is kind of all that, right? It's all this like biohacking and peptides and supplements and hit this day and heavyweight this day and kind of all this stuff. And our philosophy kind of on that is to come way back down a level. And if you're not sleeping, and if you're not eating well, and if you're not moving your body every day,
socially connected,
it does not matter what peptides you're taking, what supplements you bought. And so that's kind of our big beef with the industry right now is longevity has become really just a huge marketing scheme for all the supplements and biohacking. And that's great. I mean, if you're doing all those base things and you want to go down the Brian Johnson world and like do all the great, more power to you. But
if you don't eat broccoli, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like at the end of the day,
and if you don't sleep, actually none of it matters.
Yeah. We got to deal with that first.
And I mean, the sleeping epidemic that we're in,
that's huge.
Is huge and frightening to me. Yeah, like nobody sleeps.
And there's no like hot fitness Instagram trend on, hey, let's all get more sleep.
Yeah.
Hey, let's stop taking Ambien and get natural sleep. It's like, no. It's like sleep hacks and timers and watches to measure your sleep and your REM and your deep. It's like, no. It's all stuff to make people more anxious that they're not doing enough.
Yeah. There's like a theme that keeps popping up with everyone we have on this podcast, you know, is what I'm also teaching the patient or client to be able to like tell you what they need, like to learn how to tune into their body and like interpret the signals their body gets, and then maybe share that with someone like you of like, this is what I'm feeling when I was trying these exercises or this mix of things. And then ultimately, like the goal, is to teach this person to kind of like self course correct, whether it's what they're eating or how they're exercising, and then focusing on the fundamentals like sleep.
Totally. And we're not really doing our job. And actually, the first thing I ask all my clients when they come in is, how did you sleep? Because if someone comes into me and they've slept 2 hours and they're super stressed out and they had to get kids to school, if I then beat her up for an hour, I've done nothing to help her, right? So like that day, maybe we do yoga and maybe we meditate and maybe because people don't stop to register what's happening in their body because our lives just go. Yeah. And so, they don't stop to see how they actually feel.
Yeah. And a lot of things happen at the extremes, like the studies happen at the extremes, like all of this is bad, all of this is good.
Exactly.
And the truth is that like, it's just like cross training, like it's probably a little of everything, but it's also going to be like understanding that you have to tune into your own body. And that's, I'm huge on that, especially with like nutrition and coaching people in that is most people are so divorced from their body, and that's why they're getting their information off an Instagram reel or TikTok or whatever, because they want someone else to tell them what to do, and I love doing things like this podcast, but there's so many, even like Huberman, all of them, the questions that get asked are always like, what is the plan that I should be doing? And people try to take that and apply it to themselves. And like, maybe it works and maybe that's terrible for you. Just like sourdough might be amazing for someone and poison for somebody else, you know? Exactly. So I think there's so much more nuance. It's like, you should be moving generally. That applies to everybody, you know, like your nutrition should be the foundation
right.
of everything,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Not all the time, every meal, but
and sleep, right? Like you have to have those things, and then it doesn't matter if it's like the supplements and the cold plunging, the sauna. If you need those things, like that's like the last 5%.
It's all ancillary,
right? It's the last 5% that's going to get you. It's going to get you to the 1%er category, not like it's not going to get you the other 95%, right? Like it's not going to do much at all.
You know? And guess what? Now you're starting in the lower 2%.
Right.
That's where you're starting. You're 150 pounds overweight, bro. You don't need to cold plunge. Right. There's a lot more that you would make you feel better. That's not going to fix your problem. Right.
Yeah, or like we'll have clients that, go sit in the sauna on their phone instead of doing their workout after they've had like some crazy lunch. It's like, no. It's backwards. Don't go sit in the sauna on your phone. Go move. Yeah. Get off your phone and go move. And then if you have time for the sauna to be on your phone,
go outside.
But we're in this kind of moment where we're, hacking at our health, but not from the right direction. In my opinion. Yeah.
Well, and I think it comes from, personally, and people can disagree, but I think it comes from this general cultural feeling of like wanting immediate reward.
Sure. I want to track it all.
And not wanting to do the work. People just want like instant gratification for everything in their life. And it's like you're saying, it's like if you're 150 pounds overweight, like that's going to take at least a year, and that's like if you're working your ass off, so like, I mean, and I think there's not really shortcuts in health. And that is something that I think, unfortunately, like the pharmaceutical industry has like done some damage there, because you can get rid of symptoms really fast, but that doesn't mean that you're fixing the problem, right? So
we tell people all the time when they come in, like, hey, look, guys, this is a 40-year commitment.
I mean,
you don't have to pay me for 40 years. You can go pay another coach, or you can learn to do it on your own. That's totally fine, and we'll support whatever avenue is best. But it's 40 years, hands down, no matter what you choose to do. That's how long it takes to get where you want it, because it's every single day you got to be working towards it. Yeah. It's not something you're going to get in a 6 to 8 week bikini boot camp. It's not something peptides are going to give you in a month. It's just not that fast.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I have a tangent question here that I feel like is a trend, is to talk about how long we're going to live, right? Yeah. And that's like very intertwined into the clientele you're seeing.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'd love to, do you feel like, in your honest opinion, that human life expectancy has been increased, or we're at this point where we're going to start increasing it because of, like, what do you think the human life expectancy is? Are we increasing it? Are there ways to do that? What's your opinion?
So funny side story before we, sort of answer that. I was talking to a client the other day, and we were talking about marriage, and she was like, yeah, we are all living so long now. We were not meant to be married for 50 plus years.
30 max. 30 years max. 50 is asking too much.
That's actually a pretty valid point.
Interesting perspective.
I know, right? But yes, I mean, we clearly are living much longer than we used to, right? So I don't know what average, probably in the late 70s. What's average age?
Yeah, it's dropped down. Of course.
Yeah,
it's dropped down for a few years there, but.
I mean, Sam may have a different opinion. And granted, Sam wants to live to be like 200. He'd love to be like a vampire. To me, that sounds exhausting. I mean, if I make it to like 85 and I'm killing it, I'm like, I'm good. Check. I did it.
You just don't have to invest nearly as much money if you just have more time. It grows for you.
I don't know if we're close to people living past 100 well. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that we can know yet. I think maybe our generation, Gen X in particular, will be maybe the first generation that could possibly do it, just with the advances we've had, and how quickly we can detect cancer cells and all those kind of preventative things that are available to us now. Maybe.
Yeah. But
I still think probably 80 to 90, like living truly well, is maybe our limit right now. I don't know. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of technological advancement, but the tech advancement that we were studying back in the 90s was all with telomeres, like on the end of the DNA cells. And we had a lot of research funded by the DoD at UT that showed that, hey, we can take these rats and we can give them all these supplements and we can expose them to this much, stimuli, and we can get their telomeres to extend, but 90% of them get cancer anyway because the cells replicate too fast. So that backfired. I mean, I think nature we're coming up against some natural evolutionary phenomenon that we may not be able to use AI and tech to break through. Mm-hmm. So really, I think it's perfectly possible and feasible to maybe a select few people in the population that have access to that kind of technology. Sirtuin gene manipulation, telomere extension. From my perspective, I'm just really more interested in what the health span of those patients and clients are rather than the overall lifespan.
Like the quality of life.
What's their quality of life?
Well, that's what I was about to say. What's so interesting to me is in this, overanalyzed, where all the things, track all the data world that we're living in, and that's going to make us live longer, so the experts say. But then if you actually look at the people that are living over 100 none of them do any of those things, right? 100%. So like if you look at the blue zones or any of that,
None of the blue zones are biohacking. Nobody's cold plunging.
Those little 104-year-old ladies in Italy that are still kicking it and like still cognitively with it, they still walk up and down the hills. They've done none of those things. Right. They haven't actually lifted probably a weight.
They've never trained.
They move daily. They've eaten a whole food diet. They have community, which actually is the number one thing that keeps you alive.
Zero stress.
They don't have the same stress.
A lot of those.
And those people are actually like living an actual quality of life over 100, and they've done none of these longevity biohacking things. So I try to remember that in my own head, just for my own life. That I don't know that the direction we're headed in the U.S. in particular is maybe the way to live a very long, healthy, happy life.
I mean, outside of the animal studies, which we do see, we can extend life, a 3-day fruit fly life, or like a 12-year monkey life. But in any of the human data, the only thing we see that moves the needle, it's not exercise, it's not even really nutrition, it's all purpose and connection and like community well-being. Yeah. And that's it. That's what all those populations have.
I do think that it's when I think about it, although I would like to live to like 120 or 30, but
I feel like Heather and Sam.
I think it depends on how I look. If I get really haggard,
agree.
I want to go. Just give me the pillow.
But it's not.
Look, is that what you said?
Depends on how I look.
No, I 100% am totally vain and agree with that. But that's what was my second point is like in my vision, I'm gonna be like in the 115-year-old gymnastic Olympics, which I'm gonna take up when I'm 90 because I'm not yet into gymnastics, but I feel like
but that's gonna be the decade.
But like that's like,
and you only have to compete with 0 people. Nobody in your category.
Exactly. But I think it's so much more about quality of life. Where I think about like how my grandparents all passed away. Like the end of their life was sitting in some assisted living or hospice or hospital bed as a vegetable for 3 years and just like medication just like keep them alive, or cancer for freaking 10 years or whatever. And a lot of that has to do with like your point that the blue zones are not doing any of this stuff. They're not doing any of the medication either. And I think that is really killing people like really slowly. Yes. And I think some of this, like I don't think that in the generation before us, there was this idea of like a real fitness and like, we're not living on a farm anymore. So people, you have to like add it into your life. Right. Correct. So, I constantly, my favorite videos on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm not on TikTok, but are stuff where it's like these 95-year-old women that go to the gym every day. They're lifting like 15-pound weights. They're doing their squats. They're doing a handstand and like, they're moving just like they did when they were 70 because they're maintaining this level of physical ability, right? And so, I think there's so much to be said for kind of focusing on the natural side, but maintaining like your purpose, your physical ability, and not ending up from 80 to 100 in a hospital bed,
like we get this unique, we kind of have our own little like lab, right? Because we work with clients all day long. And so we have multiple clients that are 80 and over, and we've known them since they were like in their 60s. So we've kind of got to watch these people age, and it's very apparent. We have 85-year-old clients that actually look like they're, 100 and move like it and can't get up and down the stairs. And then we have 85-year-old clients that still work every day, that have purpose, that go do things.
And so, food and exercise has nothing to do with it.
No, and it has nothing to do with that, right? Like they're still just engaged in life. And so it's very interesting to see. And there's actually, what's her name that wrote Breaking the Age Code?
Becca Levy.
Yeah, so it has a whole book about how you think about aging affects how you age. And and so
your outlook is what's important.
Your outlook and our narrative around aging, right? Like there was I don't know her name. We saw her years ago. She's an Australian doctor, but she did this whole study on stairs and how when we hit 55-ish, people are like, oh no, you can't have stairs. You can't have stairs in the house. You shouldn't go up and down stairs.
Don't fall.
You're going to fall. You're going to break your
bedroom
hip.
downstairs.
Totally.
Like,
put everything downstairs.
Move into one-story house.
Yeah.
Right.
And she's like, no. She was like, the reason we stop being able to go up and downstairs is because you stop going up and downstairs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's, we
use it or lose it always.
Totally.
With
And we
everything.
have this narrative that you hit a certain age, it's like, oh, I got to be careful. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I can't do that. And it's like, no. Keep doing all of the things so that you always can do them.
Yeah.
So that you're 95 and lifting 15-pound dumbbells in the weight room. Like, that's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And it doesn't have to be overly complicated. You just have to keep doing.
But somebody eating the food and doing the training who doesn't want to be doing it and who doesn't have a fulfillment
it's just
or a
going
purpose,
through the motion.
their results are going to be extremely limited. And we don't see, there's nothing in the literature, obviously, because this would be long-term studies. But we haven't seen anything in our practice that competes with somebody having a fulfillment or a purpose, whether that's career or philanthropy or family or grandchildren. If they have that purpose, you can do anything you want with them, they'll have a better outcome, right?
Yeah.
So all you have to do as coach is not mess them up.
Right.
And not hurt
injure
them.
them. Yeah.
Just keep them from getting hurt. That's the big goal.
Yeah.
But they have to have some kind of purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Reason to get up.
Yeah, like-
It's a great book. Breaking the Age Code is really interesting. You can add and subtract up to 7 years off your life or onto, depending on how you view aging.
Yeah, because everything I'm doing is wrong. Like I work out, eat well. I'm terrified of aging, terrified of my clients aging. And so I read that book, I'm like, oh, I'm screwed. I'm going to age myself faster because I'm scared of it. Yeah. So that
I'm
was
going to
a big
outlive him
revelation.
by like 20 years.
Huge revelation for me.
I'm always, my clientele is elderly
Mhm.
patient, not all of it, but like a lot, a big chunk of it, right? And so I'll meet people in their 80s or 90s, and they're like, hey, I'm not wearing a denture. I'm losing my teeth, but like, hey, I'm still social. I'm like still doing it.
Yeah.
And they do amazing with surgery and recovery. And I'll get the other side of it where it's like grandma was choking on her steak at dinner and the whole family's worried about her. We got to fix her teeth. But I like kind of getting to know her. And I'm like, yeah, she's like ready to go.
Right.
She's done.
Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if she's going to
Come out.
survive another year, and she doesn't seem like she wants to. Like, she's asking you not to spend this money on her. Like, it's this huge mental thing. Like,
Yeah.
the number of the age doesn't, like, people ask me, like, how am I too old to do this procedure? And I'm like, I'm not really worried
so
about
rare.
that. I'm like kind of sizing you up and be like, can you survive the surgery? And like, do you really want to survive the surgery?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's even stuff like people that do like hypnosis. I was telling you him recently where they'll do hypnosis like prior to surgery to essentially visualize like a positive outcome, and it's just shown like they heal
Faster.
incredibly fast and have like an amazing surgical outcomes. Like that just shows you like how
powerful our brain is.
Well, there's a lot of data, even in the literature. So we in the West can actually believe it, but that people that get cognitive behavioral therapy during chemotherapy have much better outcomes than those who don't. All because of perspective and outlook.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you have to think you can do whatever, fill in the blank. Yeah.
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 Okay, so let's talk about your clothing brand.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna go get some coffee. So
you didn't play a role in this at all? You work together, you're married.
We do. He's officially the CFO, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm wearing the pants.
Yeah. Bookkeeping as we lose money. Yes.
Yeah, I'm wearing them. They're like so comfortable. But tell us about how this kind of came about as part of your whole business.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an offshoot because, yes, I've talked to women for years about athletic wear, right, because of what I do. And granted, at 5'10", I've always had issues. I've been 5'10" since I was in high school. So finding pants long enough has always been a massive issue for me.
Prom was fun because I was always the shorter one in the photo.
Sam's convinced himself that when I'm in heels and taller than him, it makes him look rich.
I think
he's just like creating a narrative in his brain.
They think I have more money than I do. Like, how do you get her? I'm like, you don't even know, bro.
That's right.
Whatever makes you feel good, baby. That's okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, it came out of that, like talking to women about how it feels like clothes are not meant for women's bodies and that I can't find them long enough. And of course, I have clients that are 5 feet tall. I have friends that are 5 feet tall. They're like, well, I get it. I'm on the other end. I'm like, yeah, but you can hem stuff. Like, you can't add material to clothes to make them longer. And granted, when you hem stuff, it actually changes the leg of the pant or whatever. You may have to do some of that, Heather.
Yeah.
So I decided if I don't try this now, I'm probably never going to get around to it. So I don't want to make this a huge long story, but I found a company here that would do the actual like pattern making and work with me to create the pant. And then they had a sister company in LA to do production, because it was very important to me that it was produced in the US, that we use, all the things sustainable, eco fabrics, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's paid a livable wage. Actually, all the companies I worked with were all female owned. A lot of the trim stuff was made in North Carolina. So anyway, those were all very important to me. People kept telling me I shouldn't do it that way because these would be exponentially more expensive pants because they were produced domestically. And I was like, well, I'll either find a niche for that or I won't, but I'm not willing to do it any other way. So that's okay. So it took 2.5 years to actually finally get a pant that I actually really liked and get it produced. So I have them produced now, and I'm a little stalled at the moment because I'm trying to figure out how to find the audience now, because I'm not a big social media person. I feel like that's very saturated already with just kind of people selling stuff. And I don't know that necessarily goes with the message I'm trying to send out there. But then I also have marketing people that are like, but you've got to have a presence. It's a founder-led company. So I'm literally in the middle of that fear, I think, of trying to figure out how to get it out there, where's appropriate, how much do I need to put out there. I'm having to deal with my own issues of being in front of the camera and like being the actual founder of this company. But it's been super fun. I've loved every minute of it so far. I have no idea where it'll go, but it's kind of fun to have it and see what I can do with it.
Totally. Well, the pants are awesome.
Thank you.
Whit also approves of the pants.
I put them on today for the first time, and so listening to your story about like, your height and for taller people with longer legs, but like that's not Heather.
Yeah.
You look great on Heather.
Good.
Yeah.
And I actually guess that was a big point I missed, was everything that I get to produce right now, it's a pair of pants, but they come in 3 different inseams, which as I started talking about this, even with Sam, he's like, wait, what do you mean? How's that different? I was like, no, women's clothes don't come in waist and inseam. Like, men have always had.
I've always bought pants by waist and inseam.
And so as I've talked to people about it,
the
all these guys are like,
is better for me.
Okay,
it is working in my favor.
Because all these
now
guys
I see what you've been saying.
You're like, wait, I don't understand. What are you talking about? Like, no. It's small, medium, large, 6, 8, 10, and they're all the same length.
Yeah.
Always. Like and every now and then, like Athleta has a tall now, and some other brands are starting to do it.
Yeah.
And as I started to do this, I was like, okay, are they not doing it because 1, they've tried it and it doesn't work. 2, because you have to hold so much more inventory because of course you have 3 lengths of each size. And I don't know the answer yet. I don't know if I'm just crazy and this has been tried and doesn't work, or my guess is it's far more expensive to have all those different options.
The ends of the curve,
Right. And so, so everything, all the pants come in 3 different inseams so that if you're 5'10" or 5 feet, you can buy the correct length and correct size.
Yeah.
We just don't have the same options men do in buying clothes, which is frustrating.
So as business owners, right, you have had a business that sells a service.
Right.
And then now you've started a business that sells a product.
Yeah.
Right?
You learn neither helps you with the other. Like, it's a totally different business.
Totally different.
I mean,
oh wow, this is a whole new playing.
Making this up as I go, and Sam's Sam's kind of on the finance side of it, which right now just means we keep writing checks, but
we know all about it.
Totally, right? I mean, that's just the way it goes. But no, it prepared me not at all to start an e-commerce company. And I've made umpteen million mistakes thus far and probably need to find some kind of mentor in the space that can help me navigate it, because it's nothing like customer service.
I feel like the motivation, what I tell myself is if you're willing to make all those mistakes and persevere, it's like it weeds out the competition. You know what I mean? It's like,
how many people are going to go through all that, right?
They're going to give up after the 50th, shareholder contribution check. Who wants to write the 51st?
Right, exactly.
Not many.
And every founder story I've read, which I've read at least a dozen or so, every single one starts with after 2 or 3 years of development. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm right on track because it took me 2.5 years.
You have a nice
Thank you. I love it.
Thank you.
That's what like our toothpaste is taken.
Yeah, you guys
right.
know.
And
exactly.
I was listening to some podcasts and they were like, we did 3 years of R&D. I was like, R&D sounds much better than I've just been working
3 years
endlessly.
in fetal position and stress.
3 years with nothing to show for it. So
let's call it R&D.
So I've been calling it R&D.
Yeah.
But your toothpaste is actually amazing.
Oh,
and
thank
it's
you.
so awesome because given that clients are always like, what toothpaste do I use? What face care do I, we finally have something that we can be like, this is actually the cleanest toothpaste you will ever find. So congrats. You guys have also come out with an awesome product.
Whether anybody ends up buying it or not, it's a great product.
I know.
It's like, you're
in the same boat I am, right?
You can be proud of it. That's all that counts.
Exactly.
But it is. It's got to be a labor of love at that point.
Yes.
And
to get through.
Really, it's like, I think that you have these like core initiatives, you really want principles you want to stick to.
That you believe in,
And like, it's much easier to just like go take someone else's product and just put your logo on it and be like, hey, just like find me whoever makes it for them.
Right.
Put my logo on it and I'll just.
It'll come down to it when you guys get a decent amount of sales and some big private equity honcho comes to you and says, hey man, I want to buy this brand. I'm just going to put a bunch of sugar in it and sell it to kids and make it pink. And then you have to decide. And you're like, well, I don't want my product. You're like, well, we got $12 million. And then you have to, how hard do I want to stick to my principles?
We wind up in that moment where someone's, offering money and we have to make that decision.
We were thinking that when she named the company Interrupted Apparel, LeBron James' apparel company is Uninterrupted, like barbershop.
He's got that like podcasting
and so she got her trademark because she was in just ahead of his. And we were thinking like, what if someday like James comes in and is like, hey, I want to buy that women's apparel company because I'm going into women's products. And like, what would it take to...
And it's a hard conversation, right? Like, would I be okay selling it to someone that I know is going to like take production overseas and have questionable, ethics that go along with that? And I don't know. I mean, luckily I don't have to decide that right now. But it's a weird question to ask. Yeah.
Okay, so what have you seen in the longevity space? This is longevity, like we're talking about, has kind of come up more recently, and there's a big biohacking and all that stuff element to that. Mm-hmm. But what are you seeing from your clients, like in the center? What are they asking for? What are they wanting now that this is kind of like a hot topic that's maybe different from like earlier in your careers?
It's funny, there's a distinct gender divide in that answer. So the majority of clients now that approach me in our side of the practice, in the longevity clinic side, predominantly men over the age of 50. They've all read Atiya's book. And what Atiya did was so brilliant in like bringing all the things that so many fractious parts of the industry were doing, from wellness to nutrition to manual therapy to proper training, and putting them all together under the longevity brand. And since he's an MD, he gave it all kinds of credibility in that, hey man, this 2.0 medicine of just throwing a bunch of drugs at people is not making anybody live any longer. It's actually making everybody sicker so that they can take more drugs. So if you want to do a better type of medicine as a doctor, you will include these other factors: fitness, wellness, nutrition, psychosocial conditioning, CBT, the things that we were all doing and coaching in the first place. So it just leveled up our entire industry. So the guys that see me have read the book, watched his podcast, and don't know what the hell to do to start. And so they need coaching and they need guidance. And for women, it's completely different.
What we have found is the men, searching for longevity, and I'm going to make a big, huge, broad statement, but are terrified of their own mortality.
Yeah.
Like it seems to be a very male trait.
Fear of mortality is driving men to my practice more than anything.
Because Sam, kind of when we really started leaning into the Austin Longevity Clinic side, Sam was like, God, I'm so frustrated. Like, I really want to train some women in this space.
Why aren't any women want to live forever?
I was like, you're not going to get any women. He was like, what are you talking about? I was like, women don't fear mortality like men. Like, we want to feel good. Yes, we want to do the things we want to do, but we don't have this like sense of death, I don't think, like men do. I think that's a very male trait. And again, I'm grossly generalizing, but for the sexes, I think men hit their like late 40s, early 50s and become very aware of their mortality. Whereas women are still like raising children and doing things. And we just want to feel good, right? Because we're perimenopausal, we're headed into menopause, all our hormones are shifted. So it's like, I don't really give a shit if I live to 125. I want to feel good right now. I don't want to wake up with night sweats. I don't want to be fatigued. I want to finish a sentence and not forget what I was saying. And so we've seen this very interesting kind of split in the sexes after about 45, I'd say. And women are looking for like women's health and men are looking for longevity, i.e., I'm aware of my mortality. How do I keep doing the things I want to do long term? And it's been an interesting divide that we didn't really see coming.
But clients are they're taking fitness, health, nutrition, wellness, they're taking it so much more seriously because it has to do with longevity.
Right.
Because it's been branded that way. And that was so key. So I don't see that as a fleeting kind of ephemeral fad. I think that's just a whole perspective shift. It's not aesthetic. It's not weight loss anymore. It's not even injury recovery anymore, which is what we always used to market for. Mm-hmm. Basically, hey, we'll come in and work you out and not hurt you. That was our big marketing ploy. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, of all the longevity information out there, we'll quarterback it, show you how to apply it to your life, and do it in like 18 to 25 minutes a day rather than 3 hours a day and 50 supplements a day, and et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. So. But kind of back to your question, and we haven't really talked about it, and I think it's probably worth talking about for a minute, is the whole Ozempic weight loss, semaglutide world. And actually, that really is what people come in asking about a lot right now. Like that's the moment we're in, right?
Like, so, I'm on Ozempic, I want to weight
train. Or how do I get it? Like, I want to do it. Exactly. And, we have everything from people that want to lose like 20 pounds and we're like, you don't need to be on Ozempic for that, but they want to do it, to people that actually truly are obese and have pre-diabetes, diabetic, that it's actually meant for. And so it's kind of a hard balancing act, I guess, because when it first hit and clients were coming in, we were so
against it. Like, dude, don't do this to your body. Right. Don't hurt yourself.
Because there are a lot of side effects. They kind of get swept under the rug. And then we realized we're not going to win that everybody's doing it anyway. So we're going to have to figure out how to like help them do it safely and not preach to them that they shouldn't be doing it, because we're just not going to win. So that's kind of where we've moved to, but it's still hard because you can pretty much Google it and get it. Now, I think they're starting to kind of tamp that down a little bit, but I mean, for a minute, you literally could almost buy it online without ever having to talk to a doctor, which is
self-prescribing.
Frightening.
Yes.
It's crazy.
It's insane. So that needs to be fixed. But if you're under a doctor's care and doing it, I think it's here and going to stay. And what I would like to see more of doctors telling people and advertising telling people is that you can't do that without eating well and lifting weights, because what's happening is they're just losing all their muscle.
Yeah. Luckily, my buddy, Chris Larson, who's my doctor, and he kind of runs a concierge practice here in town, he sees a lot of my clients as well, just because he has a very affordable, approachable concierge practice. And so he has a lot of my male clients, and they go ask him about peptides, and he's like, why don't you talk to Sam about it? Let's kind of work as a team. So Chris and I'll talk, and he'll be like, hey, dude, you want me to put this guy on these peptides? Is it going to help him? I'm like, no, it's not going to fucking help him. He's not going to lose any weight. Any weight he loses is going to be muscle. And he's going to lose that because he's going to be shitting himself for like 3 days after every injection. Of course he's going to lose weight. He's like, what are you going to do? I was like, I'm going to let him do it, and I'm going to try to keep his protein intake high. I'm going to try to keep his weightlifting up, albeit safely, because otherwise he's going to completely muscle waste if he doesn't have any stimulus from training. And let's hope he gets sick of the side effects enough to come off it or taper way down to a microdose that's more livable. Mm-hmm. And hopefully see that it wasn't worth it and then get him back on.
Well, because what we're seeing now is we now have people that have been on it for like 6 to 12 months and are actually finally starting to come off it. And what's happening is as they start tapering down, their hunger levels, like their ghrelin and leptin, have gotten messed up. So their hunger signals are all off.
It's worse than before.
Yeah. And they have this just ravenous appetite. And so they're freaking out because they're eating everything in sight. And so now they're already wanting to go back on it just to keep that appetite suppressed.
Yeah.
And so that's a little terrifying in itself too, right? Yeah. Like they, we're trying to coach them, but I mean, we see a tiny population. There are hundreds of thousands of people doing this with no supervision.
Yeah, these are people that have a coach and have an emotional support guide.
And they're still not really doing it well. Yeah. And so, I'm a little worried, and I don't know that we even really know what's
whether that's withdrawal or whether that's a permanent thing is the question.
So the pharmacy company's like, well, that's okay. Then it's just something you cycle on and off of, just like bodybuilders cycle on and off. Antidepressants or anabolic steroids, you cycle on and off, and that's the safe way to do it. It's like,
it's not safe at all.
You're on this the rest of your life.
Yeah. And then, then there's I'm guessing you probably talked to Lauren Cletty about it when she was on, but they're starting to really truly like microdose it in support, like for inflammation, and they stack it with hormones, and I think that's shown some pretty good promise, and you don't really have any of the side effects. Now you don't also have the massive weight loss,
Sure.
so that's a completely different kind of off-label use for it, is the inflammation. And I actually haven't really studied that a whole lot. I did actually try it for probably 3 months in a microdose with my hormone replacement therapy, and I didn't feel great on it. So I actually could even feel a little bit of the kind of malaise that kind of goes along with it, that kind of shuts down that like pleasure part of your brain, even at like, I mean, I think I was taking a 25th of what the starting dose for weight loss is. I mean, just an itty bitty tiny bit.
Yeah.
I tend to be very sensitive to things. So I think just for me, it didn't work, but I'd be interested to see some of the research on the actual inflammation and microdosing. But yeah, this weight loss, come off it, crazy appetite, muscle wasting is not.
When
great.
clients lose like their anima or their like desire.
Yeah,
It's almost
because
like
it shuts that part down.
the anti-testosterone drug, right? So like they're just like meh. And so I have these male clients that are on it because they want to lose 20 to 40 pounds. I mean, if you're a 400 plus pound person, you've been heavy your whole life and you haven't ever been able to think of anything but food, that drug can be a godsend for you. It can be life or death.
Yes.
And then, maybe we find you a better path long term and maybe we don't, but we got to stop the bleeding. So I totally see the purpose of that drug and where it can do the most benefit.
Sure.
Yep.
But to my like just rich, lazy West Austin client that wants to lose 20 pounds and doesn't want to do the work, it's not going to be a solution for him. And when he takes it and I'm like, hey man, what do you want to do today? Like, you want to lift weights? You want to go run? He's like, nah, whatever. And this is a guy who's usually excited to be in the studio or come see me. I'm like, well, did you get to do anything fun this weekend? Like, nah, not really. Didn't have a lot of energy. Well, how you sleeping? I'm like, I'm not really sleeping. I'm like, dude, are you like, what about virility? What about like sex drive? He's like, nah. He's like, my wife's happy because I don't have any drive. I'm like, bro, you're 53 years old and you like, this is what you want for the rest of your life. So you see how that attitude stimulated by the drug is completely anathema to longevity, right? Because longevity is all about purpose and drive. And I want to do it not because I get results. I want to do it because it's fun.
Yeah.
Right.
But also, like, there's a serious testosterone problem.
Yeah.
Huge.
Already.
And this doesn't help it.
Already.
And this just makes it worse.
I mean, I can't even. That's something new. I've heard.
Yeah.
We've heard from different
limited.
perspectives. Like my hairdresser watched all of her clients' hair fall out. She's in San Antonio. Didn't realize what was going on at first because she just like
People taking Ozempic.
Yeah. And then it was like once she put the pieces together, she was like, "Oh, they're all on Ozempic."
Yeah,
and like,
they're starving.
Right.
Their bodies are slowly dying.
She was like, "It's the same effect you would see as an anorexic, which is similar, like apathy essentially."
Yeah, just like, nah, I just won't eat. Whatever.
Right. And God,
Well, when your body's starving, it shuts everything else down. So you stop producing sex hormones and everything else because your body's like, well, you don't need to reproduce because you're not eating.
Your body's just closing in.
And we already know like testosterone levels are lower just across the board.
Right,
and so,
so bad
you
for
take someone that's
everyone.
already got low testosterone and you put them on Ozempic and they're just flatlined. And then they're like, oh, well, then just take Viagra. It's like, well, okay, that's no, stop.
So now some of the practitioners like, well, because they got to be on GLP-1, so let's put them on Sormalin or T4. Let's put them on BP157. Let's put them on another peptide to boost their muscle gain since they're losing muscle. I'm like, how about you just take them off all that shit? Yeah. And we just hopefully
you sleep and lift weights and
eat and train, right? It's like eat and train.
Yeah, but you can't inject that and then go on about your life, right? You have to actually change your lifestyle.
That is so interesting.
It's no different than this is 15 years, 18 years back when human cryonic gonadotropin was big, HCG was big, injections of drops, right? Yeah. That was the big trend. Everybody would take HCG for 30 to 90 days. Basically, it would shut down your hunger, as effective, arguably with less side effects than GLP-1s.
But you were still on a starvation diet.
But you're on a starvation diet because the protocol was take the HCG, which bodybuilders figured out in the 70s. If you take HCG, you can stimulate testosterone production, but one of the side effects is you're not hungry. So enterprising docs were like, dude, give people this. They won't be hungry. You can make them eat 500 calories a day and they won't care.
500 calories a day.
So people lost weight hand over fist, but the exact same problem. They muscle wasted. They didn't feel good. Their hair fell out. They weren't healthy.
Yeah.
So my business partner at the time, he was 10 years my senior. We had a bunch of clients do it. And he was like, hey, man, I tell you what, it was expensive, like Ozempic at the time. It was like $1,200, $1,300 a month. And these are in like $2,004. He's like, bro, pay me $500 a month, and first every month you come in here and I'll punch you as hard as I can in the teeth. And your jaw will work so
and you'll be on a
poorly.
liquid diet
You'll be on a fucking liquid diet for a month, and you'll lose the weight. And if you start eating again, I'll punch you again, man. $500 a month, great deal.
And I'll save you money. Yeah.
And that wore off because people felt so bad.
Yeah.
So I think
this will wear off too. Yeah.
I feel like there's like a
Well,
bunch
somebody's
of, like,
probably going to get sued too.
Also true.
Yes, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like a group of like 95-year-old preachers that are like, hey, we have like a, religious like thing where you don't have to fear death.
Right.
And you come to as a community every week and like, look, we're all like in our 90s and having fun. Like,
right. I mean,
it's an interesting
it
thing
is.
of like
It's
fear
so...
of mortality is like, is that because are we like,
yeah,
we refuse to take that answer of like, you don't have to be afraid of
right.
death, or is it like we're getting different signals, or what is
death,
it?
Death comes from for us all. We don't have to fear it. We just we have to live the best life we can while we're here. Right?
Yeah, exactly. If you stop fearing it, you will actually live longer.
Well, it's amazing. This is just kind of a side story, but Sam had a client that came in. You should probably tell the story, but she came in and Sam, of course, asked how she was, how'd she sleep. She was like, well, she's like, I mean, I woke up and I felt so good and I felt so rested. And then I checked my, whatever she wears. And
sleep
she was
tracker,
like, and my sleep numbers were horrible. And it said I didn't get like all my REM sleeps. And she's like, now I'm just so depressed. And Sam was like, okay.
You had this good night until your whoop told you didn't. And now you believe it. It's like, God, we tend
That's a problem.
We tend towards the over analysis of everything, and it just makes us feel worse. And then we over supplement, and then we over drug, and we kind of get right back into the same scenario.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And so, I think that's, kind of to come full circle, our real message with people is to stop doing all the things. Like, stop measuring everything, stop taking 400 supplements. Please don't take extra drugs that you don't need to take. Let's try to just find, we don't even really bitch at people about their diet. It's more like, let's add, let's not subtract, because people immediately panic, right? Yes. If you're like, you can't have this, and this.
Try to take something away from them. Yeah.
Just add 2 more vegetables to your day, to your meal. And then, if you still want the thing of ice cream or whatever, but hopefully those 2 vegetables will fill you up enough that maybe you only have half the ice cream you normally have, or 1 less glass of wine, or let's add good things and not worry about subtracting bad things right now, and let it kind of organically happen. Yeah. Because it is, right? We have a big emotional attachment to food.
And no one's going to keep doing any of it if it's not fun or enjoyable. So our job, like I coach all the young trainers coming in at UT, guys, you got to make this entertaining. People have got to have fun.
Right. Our job is to make it fun.
Our job as coaches, like, you got to have a relationship with these people. Even if they don't do anything you say, you can't get frustrated, because if you can move them 5% over 5 years, that's huge. Yeah. Because not only have you moved them up 5%, you kept them from deteriorating 30% that they otherwise would have, or getting injured or whatever. That's the key.
Wow. And your business will grow exponentially.
Exactly, because they'll keep coming in.
Right.
Trainer.
Yeah. No one's going to keep paying you if they hate doing it.
And if you bitch at them nonstop.
Right.
Well, but also I think there's also just like a energetic component there. I think a lot of healing happens from connection.
Totally.
Like whether it's from a doctor you trust,
a friend.
That's not for me, but or an energy healer or a coach or a sometimes. But I think that really is true when you can connect with somebody, and when they believe that you believe in them, there's just healing that will automatically happen, and it's certainly it's motivation and all of that too, right? But when you're talking about health, it's like those things really matter. Relationship, like we were talking about, purpose, all of that, like that connection is really, it's a much bigger piece than we're ever going to be able to quantify.
Sure. And we're so disconnected. I was reading an article the other day that was talking about how disconnected like younger generations feel. And they were talking about, and it was a perfect day to read it because I actually went to my allergist and I was sitting in a waiting room of probably like 40 people, and every single person was looking at their phone. But the article is talking about how we used to talk to strangers all the time, standing in line to get coffee, sitting in a waiting room, on the subway, wherever it was. And there's something actually magical about exchanging a few sentences with someone you don't know that actually puts you in a better mood. It lowers your blood pressure, makes you feel like you have community, and we don't do any of it anymore.
Yeah. So many of our clients will tell us, man, they'll come into the gym, and at halftime we're like, doing Kelly Clarkson's dance choreography and trying to teach like
we're a little
ridiculous 7-year-old white guys how to do like the Tootsie Roll and stuff like that. And so people would be like, dude, this is the only place I laugh all week.
Isn't
I'm like, oh my God, dude, I'm laughing here all day long.
I know, it makes my heart
How
hurt.
sad is that?
Yeah.
But that's really what we would offer them in that environment. It's the experience. It's not so much the training or the nutrition or any of the guidance. It's the experience they get when they're there.
Yeah, even like when I teach yoga, one of the things that really was impressed upon me when I was like finishing my training was sometimes if you do, I don't do a ton of adjusting, but in like Shavasana, I'll like, adjust someone's shoulders, just press.
Just the touch.
And sometimes that's the only touch that someone maybe gets all week, which is crazy. I mean, we're humans. We need that like physical connection, and it can be, that might be the only reason that they show up and do the thing, and it is healing. It calms down your nervous system, like there's so much healing that can happen from something so simple and just like connecting with somebody.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's amazing. I went to a seminar with this malpractice attorney talking to a bunch of doctors, right? And he was like, you'd think chiropractors would get sued a lot, but they never get sued because they're always touching their clients.
They have intimacy with their patients.
And we don't touch. It's especially like in this moment we're in now where everyone's, you get canceled for this or that, or, I feel like we've gone so far to one side that everyone's just terrified to engage or compliment or touch or talk. And it's like, okay, you guys, this is not healthy for us as a society.
I mean, it would only be a problem if we touched millennials, but none of them can afford me anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I can touch boomers, Gen X, and they actually love it. But the younger generations are weirded out by it. I feel sorry for them. Like, guys, you're missing out on a lot of connection.
Yes.
Because physicality is so threatening to you.
Why? I mean, all these psychotherapists have studied millennials and even into Gen Z and why they're so anxious and why they are so disconnected and kind of lonely feeling is they didn't grow up ever knowing that, right? Like we as Gen X grew up and it wasn't until we were in college into our early 20s that we even had phones or email. So we remember a world right prior to that where we touched and joked and laughed, but these younger generations don't. And it's dramatically affecting their mental stability and how they feel about life and how anxious they are. And God, that sucks. I mean, it makes me sad. So I hope we swing back the other way and people start, and I feel like they are, like our interns in college right now that are barely, 21, 22, they're really not on their phones a lot. They seem to be far more engaged. Like, I feel like there's been a correction already.
Yeah, I hope so.
Me too. And that hopefully we can get back to, like chatting with people while we're waiting in line for coffee or, wherever you happen to be on the bus. Yeah. And just have conversation and be connected again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think we're missing that.
Yeah.
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 Not to get all philosophical.
I love that. I think really that's like where the good stuff is and like the ideas behind it. Yeah. Okay, so before we wrap up, I would selfishly like to know, what are some of your favorite wellness practices that you do personally?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I would say for me is being outside.
Okay.
Like just go. I don't really even care what I'm doing or what my clients do if they go outside, but the majority of my clients, they will come in after the end of a beautiful weekend where we've been out by the pool or I've been playing basketball or I've been working in the yard or just training my dog or spent as much time outside as I can. And I feel good. I feel refreshed. I sleep better. And I come in on Monday and be like, hey, dude, what did you guys do this weekend, man? It was beautiful. Like, was it beautiful? I was like, I was inside all weekend. These are clients who, they're rich as fuck. They don't work, right? They don't have a company anymore. They're just inside in their house watching a screen probably and not even going outside to get a newspaper. Like, they're just never outside. And so there's really no intervention I can give them during the course of that week in the clinic inside that would be better than what they could have done if they just go outside on their own.
Yeah.
So we may just go for a walk that day and get them outside. They're like, oh man, this is so nice. It's so relaxing and peaceful out here. I'm like, yeah, bro, it's free. It's right there outside your door. You just don't ever take advantage of it. So that's key for me.
Yeah. And I would say that's one of mine too. We are fortunate enough to have a pool that we love because I love to be in any kind of water. So water is definitely one of the biggest healing things for me. I try to do some kind of yoga practice because I think that actually is the best way for me to meditate. I've tried actually like sitting and meditating. I've tried journaling. Those just don't really seem to work for me. But if I'm doing yoga, I usually can't think about anything else. So when I'm in a period of time where I'm doing even just like 10 minutes of sun salutations, I notice a huge difference in just how I feel the rest of the day. And so I, life, right? So then I get out of the habit and realize I really miss it, which I'm not doing it regularly right now. I need to get back to. And then I would say our dog, which I know sounds so stupid, but like having our dog next to us and just like laying and petting him is one of the most calming things for me. They have such special energy, and you know, it doesn't have to be a dog. I have a client that has rats, like actual rats, which I think is so cool, and she loves those things, and they sit with her when she's on the couch. So you know, whatever animal it is you want to have, but I don't know. There's something very calming about animals.
Oh yeah, we just got a puppy. Who is
a
real handful, but he's a Bernedoodle, and his fur is like, it's like a teddy bear, and I just like can't get enough of it. He's so cute.
Well, they're little, I don't know, they're just wise, and they exist on a different dimension than we do. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. I think nature is also, you know, it's something critical. That, again, it's a thing like connection and relationship. It's like, I tell people all the time, even with food, like getting outside and going for a walk will help with that. You know, it helps with everything, but it's sometimes just like it resets your mind. You know, the light is a big thing. That's
also, circadian rhythm. Yeah.
So we need to talk, but I think circadian rhythm and light is going to be the next thing. What do y'all think?
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Because we're so far off our circadian rhythms. Most people, we don't see the sun come up. We have light till 2 a.m.
Ironically, that's our business is anathema to that healthy practice because we start training at 5, 6 a.m.
True.
So we don't live early our entire career.
Yeah. Now we are fortunate to be able to like walk outside as the sun is coming up so that we still get that light. But I think that's actually why we're in a sleeping, you know, epidemic is because circadian rhythms are so off. Yeah. Which is probably a whole nother conversation. But
I think
nature's key to that.
I think that there's a couple of things I feel like are on the horizon as probably they're going to be trends, but it's just things that people need to pay attention to. One is I think we're going to get back to vegetables instead of protein, which I think is very important for healing.
Agreed. Yes.
And then light. I think circadian rhythm and light is really, I think it's way more important. It controls everything in your body. So I'm interested to see how that kind of plays a role in like the wellness space, the longevity space, the health space.
Of course, we'll probably then like overdo, right? Like, and instead of actually just going outside in the morning to see the sun come up and watching it set, we'll have all these lights and all these things inside.
Tell us if we got enough light.
The number of clients are like, hey, dude, which red light panel do I get? I'm like, you go the fuck outside. Open your door, man. It's like,
well, like Brian Johnson, you know, the biohacker dude. Have you guys seen the documentary about him?
It's a great documentary.
I mean, he's an interesting guy, but he gets up every morning at like 4:30 and stands in front of one of those lights that emits UVA, UVB, so that he's like tricking himself into like that being, you know, the beginning of his day. It's like, no, dude, you just need to get up and go outside and see the
just sleep
sun.
A little later and then go into the real sun. It's right there.
Yeah, I've appreciated about you hear like Gary Brecka saying that these days is like, hey, it's all out.
It's right there.
Walk
exists.
outside. You get all the wavelengths.
It's been there the whole time, right?
Yeah, it's right there. It's probably the best source of
and
a variety of them.
Vegetables need to make it back onto the list because everyone's on this. Like, and granted, protein's important, but you got to have fiber and vegetables.
But when all that protein's coming out of a package, which it all is, it's like, guys, like that ain't gonna do it for you, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's like we spent a lot of time in Costa Rica, and one of the first things I noticed when we first went down there was you wake up when the sun rises and everybody watches the sunset. Like the whole community comes down to the beach in this particular place, and then like 45 minutes later, you're like, I gotta go to bed. You know, like your body just shuts it down, and yes, it's a healthy community. There's yoga, there's surfing and all that stuff. But the more I have read about circadian rhythm and light and learn more about it, I'm like, I really think that people that go there and heal, it has so much to do with that because you're not, you're getting the correct sleep, which means you're not craving carbs and sugar, and you have the rest to do the surf all day or
Your
like
stress is down, everything.
When
works
you've
better.
moved, so you're tired and
Right.
you've eaten whole foods, and so
right.
not to say Costa Rica is not a magical place, but
It is.
it's that you go live
Right.
the
But it's
Costa Rican
like
lifestyle.
the culture, which is it's based on the rhythm of the sun and the moon, you know, which is so it's interesting. I'm just curious to see. I feel like that's going to make a real
As long as there's
mark on
a
that
capitalist somewhere in the world paying for us to be there, it's totally fine, right? I was like, at some point, either someone or myself previously had to pay for me to go there. But yeah, if one of us, we talk all the time, if one of us got really sick or had some hideous form of cancer, it's like, that's it. Close up shop.
Yeah.
We
Go
go
live in Costa Rica.
go to a blue zone. We're moving to Sardinia. We're moving to Costa Rica, and then we're going to
100%.
see what our outcome would be. But I'm not going to do chemotherapy. I'm not going to live in a hospital. I'm not going to put her through that treatment. Like,
I feel the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll live life as well as we can for
whatever we
much
have
as
left.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we've seen far too many. Like I don't remember who one of you said it, but I think it was you, Heather. But I mean, yeah, we've had clients that have, been on chemo and drugs for like 3 to 4 years, had horrible lives for those 3 to 4 years, and die anyway.
And end up dying anyway. And the chemo kills them faster probably than otherwise. And if you offered me 3 years sick on chemo or 6 months decent and able to move around, that's an easy trade. I'll take my 6 months and move to Costa Rica and then see if I can maximize it.
Yeah, totally.
I know. So hopefully, I'm hopeful that because the information is shared so widely now, that hopefully that does affect kind of at least some people and how they choose to live life and how we choose to treat diseases, and we have more and more conversations about treating cancers and things with diet and lifestyle and meditation and faith, whatever that looks like for you. And so I hope that as we have more and more information from other cultures, that's what we learn here.
It was traditionally, I would see clients in their mid to late 50s, maybe early 60s, that felt overwhelmed and were coming to us because they wanted a different way to do it. They tried a lot of other options for training or wellness or health, and they just feel crushed and overwhelmed. And now we're getting, I consider them kids in their mid to late 30s that are coming to us and saying, man, life is just crushing me. Job, personal life, kids, family. Like, usually people were able to just buck it up and get through that till their 60s before they fell apart. Well, now people are falling apart so much earlier because the stress and the pressure is so much more.
Or maybe they're just talking about it. I mean,
or maybe they're expressing it and asking for help sooner, which is good. But
but you're right. I mean, life feels heavy sometimes.
Yeah.
So we have to take care of
Well,
ourselves.
totally. This has been such a good
Yes,
conversation.
so
I
much
could,
for having us.
I could honestly
I feel like we could talk for hours
all
but
day long. I know, but this is going to be like a 7-hour podcast, so we'll just have to have you back on.
We would love to. Yes. Thank you so much for
Okay,
having
but
us.
before we go, like, tell everyone where they can find you if they want to reach out for training or check out the center, and also for clothes for pants.
So clothes is Interrupted Apparel. So we've got a website and a little social media presence. But yes, if you search for Interrupted Apparel, you'll find us.
Okay.
And then we've got Austin Fitness Clinic is easy to find since we've been around for a while. So if you just Google Austin Fitness Clinic, we'll pop up and can help. Yeah.
Cool. Central Austin, amazing facility.
Yeah.
And I love how you can raise the big door, let the fresh air in.
Speaking of nature and fresh air. Yeah.
Amazing gym.
Yeah.
So like people are looking for a gym in Austin.
Yeah.
It's an incredible place.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thanks for being here.
So much fun.
Awesome.